It's Off Topic with the Scott Brothers on the Corus Radio Network.
We are here, the Scott Brothers. This is Off Topic. It's Thanksgiving weekend. I'm Drew.
I'm Jonathan.
And I'm JD.
Now, I hope you're getting a chance to get out there and hang with your families this weekend, have some of those traditional turkey dinners, and other traditional stuff like what we're about to talk about, manscaping.
That's a traditional holiday thing?
Isn't that a traditional thing for families?
Everyone gets together and manscapes. What house have you been living in?
Well, it's a hot topic out there. A lot of women want their men to be clean.
No, seriously, I want to talk about the transition. How do we go from talking Thanksgiving to talking manscaping?
Side note, our family did not do that together.
No, this has never come up.
I'm going to make this a new tradition. I just love how, the segment we're saying it's called Health and Relationships. But does it make it a healthy relationship only if you're manscaped?
You're bringing this up to justify that you've paid $500,000 to laser your entire body, which is true, ladies and gentlemen.
It's worth it. It's worth it. Yeah, I want you guys just to tell me, JD, is manscaping necessary?
Oh, it's very necessary. Like, I'm not exaggerating here. I actually have at home an entire drawer full of different electric shavers, trying to find the right one for body.
Those are not the one.
Body trimming.
That's not the one you lent me to do my beard, is it?
Oh, yeah.
Those little curly hairs that were... Never mind.
Taking it too far.
Jonathan, what do you think? Manscaping?
Yeah, I think it's important. I mean, I take care of myself. I don't go and get the laser. I haven't, spent a fortune having laser done. However, yes, I do believe that everything should be tidy, that you can see and that you can't.
Well, I think it's hilarious how so many men out there, they're lazy. They don't want to shave anything aside from their face. And then they expect that their girlfriends or wives, they need to be all clean in the nether regions. It's just not right. So it's 2013. It's time for the men to clean it up as well.
This Dad always says, and to me is the worst argument. Dad says, you need body hair. It serves a purpose.
It keeps you warm.
Yeah, it keeps you warm. Yeah. Back when we were cavemen and we were living outside, that's why we have central air now. No, you do not need the body hair. In fact, I think that it's just, especially under the arms, it just festers bacteria.
I think there's only times when that whole keeping you warm thing comes into play. Maybe if you're like, what's his name? Robin.
You meant Robin Williams?
Yeah, Robin Williams.
Well, yes.
Well, that's an important thing, though. When you start to lose it on your head, then you can just take it off your back and transplant it. Yeah. But now, we're talking manscaping. A lot of men out there feel that they don't have to do this, just the girlfriends have to do this. That's not fair. I personally don't like hair. Aside from a little scruff on my face and the hair on my head, I don't like hair. I went and did laser treatment on my entire body. From my neck down, there ain't no hair.
It's because he's a swimmer.
How much have you spent?
I have probably spent,
how long then?
$15,000, something like that.
Oh, give me a break. It's more than that.
I don't know. I haven't been keeping track, but it's spaced out. It sounds like a lot in one lump sum, but I spaced it out, and I did the treatments. You go in, and then 6 weeks later, you have different hair cycles. I could explain the whole process of hair growth to you guys.
No, thank you.
Well, I can actually see his point in this, because for those who do have hair on their body, when you do shave, there is ingrown hairs, and you do not have that problem after you laser.
No, my neck, I used to get the ingrown hairs all the time, and JD, you actually did a couple of treatments on your neck to stop that, and did it help?
Oh, yeah, it definitely did. I didn't keep going with it, but it was enough to stop the ingrown hairs.
And I get a little bit here and there. I have a little bit of hair that still comes in, but honestly, I'm not a fan of it. And for example, when we used to model, Jonathan and I used to have to shave our legs, and we would shave our chest and stuff like this when we were younger. I hated that. I don't like that. So now I don't have to worry about any of this.
You're never going to win a Magnum PI lookalike contest. I'll tell you that.
Oh, you can get the
mustache. I have no problem with that.
I was reading a thing that says that 72% of men who do manscape, it's because their girlfriends or wives made them. So what do you think about that? If your girlfriend or your wife came to you and said, you have to do something about your body, would you do it?
Well, at that point, I should already be embarrassed that I hadn't already done it. So yes, I would do it.
Well, I personally, I know, like my girlfriend, I'm sure she loves it. I won't put words in her mouth. But of course, I mean, if a woman takes care of her body, then the guy should take care of his. Now, here's a funny stat. 56% of men say that they style at least one body part. What does that mean?
What does that mean?
I don't even know.
Do you think it means that
they comb? Do they do a part on the left side?
That's when men do the runway? Is that what that is?
Have you heard? Do you know what a merkin is?
Yes.
Yes, I do.
For anyone who doesn't know what that is,
I can lend you mine.
Educate you. It's a pubic toupee. Why would you need a pubic toupee? If something happened and you lost all your hair down there, why the heck would you have to put a toupee back?
If you're going to a 70s themed nudist colony party, you have to be there with your afro merkin.
That sounds too convincing. Do you attend these parties?
Right,
no,
yeah.
it sounds bizarre to me.
It is bizarre. Like I always thought it was a weird thing. And there's companies out there that specifically create those products.
Now this is kind of gross, but you know how they make wigs out of real hair? You can donate your hair.
No, I know where you're going.
No, let's just skip that. All right. So
I actually related to that though. And this is a man problem that most can relate to if they do shave. There's an area down there that's sensitive skin, and every time that I try and shave down there, I cut myself.
And then you bleed forever.
Hey, you bleed and bleed.
Not
and
that
bleed.
I've ever done that.
I've never had that happen.
I know what you're talking about, and you know what? You're using the wrong kind of razor. I'm going to tell you a little trick that I had learned before. I didn't need to do this anymore because of the laser. Honestly, it's a little sore in the beginning, but laser's worth it. A lot of people try and use a trimmer, and that doesn't work. You just need a regular, like your blade that you would use on your face, like a Gillette blade on your face. You would think a blade down there is not good, but that's actually better than a trimmer.
Actually,
keep that in mind.
I was listening to an interview.
You heard it here first.
I was listening to an interview with a porn star, and she had said, it was on Sirius, and she had said that women don't actually like a guy to be completely shaved down because it's prickly. It's actually better to leave, like a quarter to a half inch.
Unless you wax or you laser, then there's no prickliness.
So
for you guys, tell me, if you were doing a little manscaping or whatever you want to call it, groundskeeping, body grooming, whatever, would you go for the boyzillion or the manzillion? Leave a little bit of scruff, or would you go boyzillion and be nothing there?
I'm not leaving a landing strip or anything like that. I'm just cleaning things up so that there's not a bunch of stuff all over the place.
There's no flyaways or when you're going to use the bathroom.
I really think we need to move on to other subjects.
The last thing I want to point out there is that I just wouldn't ever expect my girlfriend to be doing the work for me. Some people make their spouse or their girlfriend do the cleanup,
horrible.
the manscaping. That's just wrong. That's taking a relationship. That's like leaving the door open to the toilet when you're taking a dump. I don't like that in a relationship.
It's hurt taking an interest in something that's important to you.
All right. Well, there's a lot more we could talk about here, but we don't want to. Back after the break, we're talking about youth and social media. Should minors be allowed to delete their social media past? Connect with us through social media. I'm at Mr. Drew Scott. JD is at Mr. JD Scott. And Jonathan is at Mr. Silver Scott or at thescottbrothers.com. We want to hear your voice. We'll be right back. You listen to Off Topic with the Scott Brothers on the Corus Radio Network.
This is Off Topic on the Corus Radio Network.
Welcome back to Off Topic with the Scott Brothers. I'm Jonathan.
I'm JD.
And I'm Drew.
And we have a lot of dirt that is out there on us on the internet. And, well, once stuff is on the internet, it cannot be deleted, at least not now. There is a law that people are looking to pass that would actually require websites to possibly delete a youth's past on the internet. So that's what I want to talk about, how basically we've changed. Social media has changed how we interact with each other. It's hard for people to sometimes distinguish between their online life and their real life, and it's so intertwined. So thoughts, first of all, JD, on social media and whether or not kids should be posting the things that they are posting.
Well, of course they shouldn't be posting all the things they're posting, but this comes down to, I think, to some degree, lessons. And if you just always erase everything, they don't learn the lesson from that. So by keeping some of these things online, they have to look back later on and say, oh, that's something maybe I shouldn't have done, and now I know.
But what if kids are young? Kids are young and they're naive. They're sort of learning who they are. They don't, I think, really understand in the beginning what they're posting online and the ramifications of it. So is it really fair that they're taught a hard lesson by maybe they posted a provocative photo of themselves and then they started getting bullied because of that? I think that there really should be something that allows that to be taken down, and then maybe that is a lesson.
But you know what? I mean, yes, kids can be immature and make mistakes, but so can adults. I mean, Miley Cyrus is a great example. Look at some of the things that she's posted. But I think with the youth, maybe if there's education in place that can help them understand what they should and what they shouldn't do. I mean, if you have a class that's teaching you to, make sure you don't post these certain type of personal pictures. If you've had some alcohol, don't open up your computer or use your phone.
I agree with that. The one thing with Miley Cyrus, she is an adult. She does know what she's doing. I think she is going overboard, and the stuff that she's posting is inappropriate.
I think she started posting some of the bad stuff, though, before she was an adult. Like, there was some very suggestive
her
pictures.
bra pictures and stuff like that when she was 16. But that's the thing. She's an adult. Maybe. She's 19 right now, isn't she, or something like that?
I think at 19, you know the difference between what is right and what is wrong. I don't know maybe if it's a bigger problem with really young kids, when they're I'm looking at kids now. Like I was working with a family the other day, and their 4-year-old knew more about the iPad than I did. So I'm blown away at how immersed in technology kids are these days.
But we're not talking just about their physical age. Of course, someone even who's 15 or 16, most of the time will know the difference between right and wrong, but it's a maturity level, or it's just not thinking before you act. Like I said, there are adults that still do this. Look at half of the stupid stuff out there that adults are posting online, or hate mail, or racist comments, or all these trolls that are posting things.
Well, even look at yourselves. Like, I mean, have you posted things at some point on the internet that you wish you hadn't?
Those tasteful nudes, Jonathan, are they really that tasteful?
No, I have links showing you where they are. No,
artistic.
The bill I'm talking about, Bill 568, specifically would require sites like Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr to not only have the ability for someone to delete something that they posted by accident. Maybe they regret it 5 minutes after they've posted. But it also has to have very clear instructions so that children can understand how to delete these things. The biggest problem right now is literally as soon as you put something on the internet, it is there forever. You cannot take it down. There are even sites like archive.org that even if a website has been deleted, you can go onto this site, and it's like going back in time. You can see what appeared at that domain at that time.
This leads into a whole other area, though. That would require that they are actually authenticating how old a person is when you create a Facebook, which currently they don't. Anyone can create a Facebook. You can say your age is whatever you want. You could be 5 and say you're 50.
But Facebook has a restriction, though. You can't be 5 years old with a Facebook page, right?
But you can say that you're older.
Yeah.
Right. So what is the minimum age? Is it like 15 or something?
Well, I don't know what the minimum age is. All I know is they're just asking you can lie.
Right.
So, I mean, I think it's 13. That's the youngest you can possibly be on Facebook. But again, what's to prevent a 10-year-old from just saying, yeah, I'm 13?
Now, don't you think this is going to actually spark a lot more controversy? If they pass this law that says that youth can take back any of these posts that they've done, don't you think that a lot of adults will start to fight that's not fair, that they should be allowed to take back posts?
I think that they will. That'll be the next step, and people will always want what someone else has that they don't. So
I don't understand what the whole controversy is, though. It's my opinion, it's my voice, it's my picture, stuff like that. If I post something and then I realize, hey, you know what, that did offend somebody, or hey, maybe that isn't appropriate, I am having sex, I posted it. Why should I not be allowed to take it back? I know that sites like Facebook, they say once you post it, they own the content. That's one thing that I don't agree with. I think that if I want to take something down, I should have the right. It's like if I was to post a picture, a nude picture of myself in my window at my house, and then I decided, ooh, that's not appropriate, and I take it down out of the window, I have that prerogative.
Well, and you can right now. On Facebook, you can take down something that you've posted. I mean, so that other people can't see it on there. But the problem is once you have posted something, it is in the universe. Yeah. So someone could have saved it, they could have retweeted it or shared it.
It's in the interbox.
Yeah, Drew for life. Know what he's talking about. Think about it this way. All right, so if kids are posting stuff, then do you think there should be programs with the schools where maybe school counselors are on the internet and they're looking for kids who are posting drinking pictures, or they're posting inappropriate pictures, so that they have an idea of maybe a kid that's in trouble?
Well, I mean, that's a whole other thing, too. It could open up a whole other can of worms, because what if they're on there now looking for this, and it's almost like adults are online, teachers are online looking to catch kids and get them in trouble. It should be a support net. And like I said, education is key for kids, for adults, for anyone who's posting dumb stuff on the internet.
You need to think of the future, too, because if future bosses are going to look on there, they're going to see what you're posting, these inappropriate pictures, maybe not give you a job. Your family, I think there are a lot of ramifications, and I think you should have the opportunity to, retract that information. But I do agree with JD. I think that you also need to think before you post.
I just get frustrated when I hear people saying, no, it's my content, I'm allowed to post, and I can take it back if I want. But if you're that confident about your voice and your word and what you're saying or what you're typing, and you put something inappropriate online, well, hey, maybe you don't deserve to take that back. Someone else should be able to ridicule you for doing that.
Or call you on it.
Yeah.
Here's what I think. It's an old contractor analogy. Think 3 times. post once. That's what I say. Back after the break, we're talking about Thanksgiving and the co-creator of the Turducken. Yes, that is a chicken inside a duck, inside a turkey. He will join us and tell us about the recent addition to the Thanksgiving tradition. Hit us up on social media. I'm at Mr. Silver Scott. We also have Drew at Mr. Drew Scott and at Mr. JD Scott. You're listening to Off Topic with the Scott Brothers as we continue on the Corus Radio Network.
Now back to Off Topic on the Corus Radio Network.
Back with more Off Topic with the Scott Brothers, and we are talking Thanksgiving. This is the best thing. We live in America. We're from Canada. We get to celebrate 2 Thanksgivings. That means twice the turkey, twice the leftovers.
Twice the turkey. How about twice the turducken?
Turducken. So who has heard of turducken? This is apparently this new trend. Turducken, it is, let me see if I get this right. It's a chicken inside a duck, inside a turkey.
Inside my belly.
Exactly.
This just sounds like some sort of wonderful dream.
It is. I'm basically going to bring in an expert here to talk to us about this kind of stuff. Mike Moser, are you there?
I'm here.
Mike Moser is the co-founder of Echelon Foods, home of the original turducken. What the duck? Tell me about this. What is this?
Well, your description was pretty good. It's a turducken is a full turkey. If you can imagine filleting it, taking out that middle carcass, and then layering in the chicken, the duck, and in our case, we have a couple of different sausage stuffings. So it's not just the 3 meats; it's actually a 4-meat sensation. It's got the Italian sausage stuffing, and we have another one with the chicken apple stuffing. But basically, you take all of that meat, you put it into your layer it into your deboned turkey, and then you sew it back up and when you put it into the oven, it looks like a full turkey, but that middle is solid meat.
So when there's sausage in there, does that make it a turducken pig?
We've just stuck with turducken because that's a bit, one that's a little bit known. But yeah, essentially that's what you could add the pig into it, or the one with chicken apple sausage. It's actually pork free, so you could just call that one turducken.
I was at a restaurant and I saw on the menu that you could actually order bacon wrapped bacon. And I thought that was probably the best thing I had ever seen in my life. But you now, sir, have taken the top spot. Is there anything that you guys produce, though, that is a healthy option?
You know, turducken itself is got a lot of lean protein in it. When we layer in our chicken and our duck, it's actually we take the skin off, so most of that fat is off there. So you're getting 3 very high protein sources in your turkey, chicken, duck.
Oh, so basically JD's not interested in, because all he likes to eat at Thanksgiving is the skin.
I do like the skin, and I'll admit, when I first heard about turducken, the first thing that came to mind was, wow, I feel like I'm getting fat just listening to this.
Well, the first thing that came in my mind, though, was the name, Turducken. And this is something I'm eating. Now, why did you go with a name that starts with turd?
Well, I guess is where you put the accent on that first syllable there. So we like to go to turducken, but you know what?
There should be a hyphen somewhere in there, I feel.
Yeah. In the U.S., they do have a DUC hyphen, and then hen. So, and it is it did come over from Europe, but it's in the U.S. it was more of a Cajun product. So the turducken name's been around. We didn't invent that. The original turducken in our product refers to more of the European styling, because our stuffing is the sausage-based stuffing. The Cajun stuff is all rice-based or more of a rice-based product. So we consider ourselves a little more European in our approach to the turducken.
So for the people who are basically looking for a lazy turkey dinner, it sounds like a lot of work to put this together. So how easy is it to cook a turducken?
Yeah, you know what? That's the beauty of it, is we've done all the work for you. All they have to do literally is buy it, defrost it in your fridge. Full turducken takes about 5 days in the fridge. On Thanksgiving Day, you get up in the morning, set your oven to 220, and just put it into a roasting pan in the oven. You don't need to baste it. You don't need to spice it. We've done all of that for you. 6.5 hours later, it's ready to go.
And where do you buy it?
You can get it at almost a couple of different places. It depends where you are in Canada. In the Metro Toronto area, greater metropolitan area, at any of the Longo stores. There's some independents that carry the product out in Western Canada. Calgary Co-op, some Safeway stores.
Nice.
Mike,
quite a few locations.
I'm thinking that for us to really understand this, you're going to have to send some turducken over to us here.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm somebody, I love to have delicious food, but I'm a health nut as well. Do you find that the inside is maybe a little unhealthier with all the juices and everything locked in, a lot of the fat and everything locked in, than maybe the outside? Or it doesn't matter? I mean, it depends if you're eating absolutely everything from the inside.
Yeah, one of the tricks with the turducken is that the fact that the juices are sealed in, you're sealing in all the flavor too, right? So that the duck adds a lot of moisture, the sausage adds a lot of moisture. So it's a great tasting product. So there isn't as much gravy coming out of it at the end. So it does sort of stay inside. And there is, obviously, on the outside, there's the turkey skin, so JD can get some of his turkey skin.
A little win-win for everybody. Yeah, because ducks, quite often, I find, is quite dry. So that's kind of nice, actually, if it does sort of lock in some of that moisture. Yeah. It would taste a little bit better. Because I fear that some people may hear the name and wonder what the heck, and is it going to taste as good as a traditional turkey?
Now, what do you think? Is there anything else in the works that you're thinking about, like possibly some sort of another animal blend or a vegetarian blend? I want to hear some new names.
Turducken?
You know what we did? We launched a turducken burger. So there is actually a turducken hamburger patty, which is actually very for the people looking for fitness and lean products. It's considered extra lean. It's less than 5% fat.
So is there a special tradition that goes with serving a turducken? Is there a special Thanksgiving tradition?
Feats of strength.
It's very similar to the traditional Thanksgiving. So whatever you enjoy, if you like your Brussels sprouts and your pumpkin pie, you know what? Regular turducken goes great, and it goes great with red and white wine too. So.
But what if you had red and white wine inside your Brussels sprouts, inside your pumpkin pie?
That would be a drunken turducken. Something like that. Well, that's awesome. Thank you very much for the insight into the origination of the turducken. You can go online to theoriginalturducken.com or to echelonfoods.com. Thanks very much, Mike. And coming up after the break, we're going to talk to Mark Macdonald. He's a nutritionist, a health guru who will share his ideas about staying healthy through the fall and winter season. You, of course, are listening to Off Topic with the Scott Brothers as we continue on the Corus Radio Network.
This is Off Topic with the Scott Brothers on the Corus Radio Network.
Thanks for joining us on Off Topic with the Scott Brothers this Thanksgiving weekend. And after we just shared our Thanksgiving stories and learned about turducken.
That was my turducken sound.
That was a very good turducken sound. We have a solution for that big feast. We need to get back in shape. And indulging over the holidays is always a bad thing. But we have Mark Macdonald. He's a nutritionist and health guru here to help. Mark, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me on. Love the Scott Brothers.
Thank you. Well, we just put on probably, every Thanksgiving we put on maybe a good 10 pounds, would you say? Because my mom knows how to cook, and she likes to put a plentiful meal on the table.
Though Mom has never made turducken.
No.
Have you ever had turducken, Mark?
I have no. What is turducken? I've never had it.
Apparently, it is a chicken inside a duck inside a turkey. It's turducken.
It sounds very fatty, but very delicious. But what would you say, okay, people who, everyone changes over the holidays, whether it's Christmas or New Year's or Thanksgiving, they have all the heavy pastas and breads and fatty and carby foods. How can you help these people get back into shape?
Well, the first thing is, like, when you talk about Thanksgiving, like, we all gain some weight on Thanksgiving, and most of that is just some bloat. It's because we're having that turducken or that extra stuffing or that pumpkin pie. It's just a little bit of bloat, and it'll be gone in a couple days. So one off-plan meal during the holidays, not a problem at all. The first thing that you guys want to do is focus on eating in threes. Basically, your metabolism is a refuel-to-goes machine. So you want to eat consistently throughout the day, and that actually makes your body burn energy better, and it makes you release stored fat, manage your weight, and it's basically eating every 3 hours a little bit of protein, fat, and carbohydrate.
There's a flaw to your philosophy there, and that is Thanksgiving leftovers.
Yeah, that's right.
Because we cook so much that there's enough for at least 4 or 5 days of all that
Just eat it every 3 hours, and then you're sticking to Mark's strategy. Mind you, there's probably a little more fat in there, and maybe a little more carb than they should be taking in, but... Now, that's the hard thing. Now, I used to be a personal trainer, and I studied kinesiology in school, and obviously nutrition was a heavy side of that as well. But when I was training people, the hardest thing that I could tell them it's not just going to the gym. I would have guys that would come to the gym and work out really hard, yet I see they walk out of there with a bag of Macdonald's, and they're defeating the purpose. So when you're telling people to eat, every 3 hours, do you find that a lot of people are still eating big meals every 3 hours instead of smaller portion meals?
Well, a couple things. As you said, there's no workout that can outwork out poor nutrition. So you can't work out hard and then go eat poorly. So the big thing what happens is people skip meals. So they skip meals, which makes their blood sugar drop, which makes them crave those carbohydrates. Because when you're hungry, you're not craving chicken or tuna, you crave the carbs. And then that makes you overeat at lunch, overeat at dinner. So it's not the Thanksgiving meals or even the leftovers a few days after that are causing people to struggle. It's the day-to-day. So when I'm talking about eating in threes, I'm talking about eating from the moment you wake to the moment you sleep, balanced meals. And this is what happens. When you don't skip meals, you're not starving, so you eat in moderation, and then you don't overeat to your full when you would store fat.
Right.
Most people are skipping meals, burning muscle, overeating, and storing fat. So eating in threes ignites your metabolism, keeps you satisfied throughout the day.
Okay, here's one of the problems I have. I do get super hungry when I'm eating really well. And what could I eat that's a good snack food that isn't going to be bad for that diet? What's good?
So, what I look at is where's your protein, where's your fat, where's your carbs. So a lot of people love like Greek yogurt. Greek yogurt's like creamy. You can put some nuts in it. You can put some blueberries in it. That's going to keep you nice and stable. A lot of times, like if someone wants to have an apple, you could do some string cheese with that apple. Chelsea Handler, she wrote the foreword of my book, Body Confidence. She loves turkey slices with some nuts and some fruit. So you could find some cool things that taste good that you can eat throughout the day that are nice little in-between meals. And a protein bar is something, if you're in a jam, you just get a nice protein bar that's got equal protein carbs in it, keeps your blood sugar balanced and your metabolism humming.
So this is the problem that I have. I don't really know a lot about, the carbs and the protein, what's good, what's bad. So I always go to Drew because that's what he's known for. He went to school for kinesiology and understands a lot of the nutritional stuff. However, so here I thought, I'm being healthy. And I had these like snack bars that I have they say everything on it's promoted healthy this, healthy that, and
he was calling them protein bars to me, but they weren't protein bars.
Well, no, but it says on there, it's gluten free, it's cholesterol free, it's dairy free. It's all. I'm like, this is great, it's fantastic. So I'm like all proud that I have this bar, and then I show it to Drew, and apparently it has 30% of my daily fat intake.
Yeah, the bar was well over 20 grams of fat, and it was a tiny little thing. It was 20 grams of fat. It was over 20 grams of carbs, and it had 2 grams of protein. And so,
but no trans fats.
But I think that's the problem. It's a lack of education with a lot of people. They think a power bar or a protein bar.
Or a lack of caring. Because for me, honestly, I do eat fairly healthy. I don't care. I don't want to spend half my life counting carbs and doing. There's got to be an easy. There's just got to be an easy method. What is the easy solution for all of the lazy people out there that they want to be healthy but they don't want to calculate everything? What's the easy solution?
Yeah, I totally agree. The easy solution, and first off, when we look at, a lot of times people think they're eating healthy, but they're not necessarily eating correctly. The easiest way to me is this. If you're a female, basically, and you know what a protein is, the size of your palm is a protein you should eat. The size of your fist would be some carbohydrates, so fruit, vegetables, or grains. And then the size of your thumb would be some fat, avocados, some nuts. If you're a man, 2 palms would be your protein, 2 fists would be your carbohydrates, and a super thumb, like a real big thumb, would be your fat source. So you don't have to count your calories. You don't have to weigh your food. It's just about eating nice and balanced. And in a protein bar, all you're looking at is making sure that when you look at the label, the proteins and the carbs equal each other. And then when you do that or close to it, you find a few bars that you like, and when you're in the gym, you use that. And then you don't have to count anything. You're just eating consistently throughout the day, feeling good. And come Thanksgiving and leftovers, you go for it. You don't worry about it, and you get back on plan later.
Well, that's exactly. I mean, it sounds like a lot of organization. I can see Jonathan right here. I think he just fell asleep hearing all the things he needs to do. But it's simple, and it's when you get into a routine of eating right, exercising regularly, and sleeping well, your body's going to go into check. Your body's going to start to feel more. You have more energy. What I love, one quote that I heard I live by this for work as well as for my diet. And my exercise routine, continuous effort is the key to unlocking your true potential. If you make this a habit of knowing when you should eat, what you should eat, it becomes second nature, and that's when you start to see the results that you really want.
He says that all the time.
I say it all the time. Thanks for joining us, Mark. After the break, we're talking marijuana, or should it be Mary Jane?
Funny weed.
I would say pot, grass, dope, whatever you want to call it. Should it be legalized? It's been a subject of great contention, and we'd like to give you our 2 cents. And be sure to hit us up. Social media, I'm at Mr. Drew Scott. at Mr. Silver Scott, at Mr. JD Scott. We want to hear what you want us to talk about. Stay tuned for Off Topic with the Scott Brothers on the Corus Radio Network. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Off Topic with the Scott Brothers on the Corus Radio Network.
You're back with the Scott Brothers on Off Topic, and we are talking about something that's been highly contended. It is marijuana.
Dun, dun, dun. We grew up in Vancouver, the pot capital of the world, I think. I may have made up that stat, but...
No, I wouldn't say the world. That might be Amsterdam. But, it is widely recognized as a place where we're a lot more open to the use of marijuana than some other places.
Now, I'm confused on what the law actually is because I get conflicting reports. Because I was told you can smoke pot. There are cafes that allow you to smoke pot. You can grow your own.
So
for personal use something like that?
These laws change all the time. Like the government doesn't seem to really like what they decide, so they change it again. But
it's because they're high one day. They make one law, then they're...
Well, it was decriminalized, which means that you can have a certain amount on you and you can smoke it. There could be a fine for that, but it won't be a criminal fine. Okay. And there is those cafes, but the police kind of just look the other way. So it's not like it's technically legal, but it's not really illegal.
See, and that's what I just don't get. So maybe this makes me lame, but I've never smoked pot in my life. I just don't have that urge. Can anyone else in the room say that?
Crickets.
I smoked pot in Amsterdam when I was there, and I think when in Rome.
I have also smoked pot.
But this is the thing that confuses me.
Didn't really do anything. Didn't do anything for me. Maybe it's the same like with alcohol. It doesn't really have much of an effect on me. If I have a drink or two. But
you're that anomaly that can take an entire bottle of vodka and it still doesn't affect you. But so in Vancouver, I had a buddy who said, oh, you're fine, you're allowed to have it. You can have personal growth. So he had like a plant or two. And then he would, whatever the hell he does to prep it, and he was carrying around a couple of joints with himself. And then he got pulled over, and they searched his vehicle. They found that, and he got a ticket or a fine or whatever. Yeah. So if you're allowed to grow it, but then you still get fined.
Again, I think it's the same thing. You were able to get a license so that you can grow a certain amount of it, but you still had to get a license for that so that the government knew. But they've changed that again, and they're only going to be licensing commercial operations. So it's going to be commercial, like privately funded, or no.
Hold on, so you can't grow your own, and that's what the change is happening in April of next year. So you can't grow your own marijuana anymore.
No, you're supposed to get it from a commercial developer.
See, this is shady to me because this looks like basically, the government's now saying that these people that they say are allowed to grow it are allowed to make a freaking fortune off of it, but anyone else who had their own little ma and pa personal use growth, they're not allowed to do it.
Well, I'm pretty sure this all comes down to one thing. This is finally the way that the government can tax the sale of marijuana. Whereas before, when people were individually growing it, the government doesn't actually know how much they're growing or how often. Now it's going to be sold like cigarettes.
So I have differing opinions on this. Why should somebody not be able to grow their own? Because all you need is some seeds, you grow it, boom. What's the difference between that and growing your own tomatoes on your back deck?
Have you ever been high off of tomatoes?
I'm willing to try. No, maybe that's what I mean. Like, it's not, the thing that annoys me, excuse me, is when people say that marijuana, it's a gateway drug. It's going to lead to, cocaine and heroin. I have a lot of my friends in BC growing up smoke pot. None of them do any other drugs nor have done any other drugs than pot.
I think that those stats are those people that say that are usually people that have not smoked pot. They see it as one of those harder drugs because they don't know the difference. But I did see this stat a little while back that was in Vancouver, at one point, they said 1 in 3 houses was growing marijuana. That is actually a huge amount.
Yeah, so basically look to one neighbor, look to the other. If neither of them are growing it, look in your basement.
Yeah, that's right. And
but
your kids are doing it.
Now, if you are considering alcohol compared to marijuana, people driving, I mean, it's always doing drugs and driving or drinking and driving is a big concern, but there are a lot more people who die every year from car accidents than there are people who are injured or die from marijuana.
That brings up a good point. You can make your own alcohol at home. You can brew your own beer. You can do your own wine. You can even, make your own vodka, stuff like that. So why should you be allowed to make your own alcohol but not grow your own pot?
But you can't do that everywhere. Actually, it's different province to province and state to state. Some provinces and states don't allow you to make your own liquor at home. You have to go to like a U-brew to do it.
Well, I know that there are some places that require you, so for beer, for example, if you have to have a permit in order to have like a garage beer op. I don't know what you call it. But like Dad used to make his own wine, so you can make your own wine, things like that. So I don't understand if they're saying, well, it's a restricted substance, or I agree you should not be driving while high, because that's just as bad as driving while drunk. But I'm still out on the fence. I like the idea that they're taxing it in the sense that if that's what the government's biggest problem with, great. Don't say it's because they're going to go getting addicted to heroin or something like that.
There's a big difference though with Dad and his wine. They were okay with him growing that because no one wanted to drink that crap. Don't tell him I said that.
Dad's wine
was it
fine.
good? Okay, maybe I'm.
Grow wine?
You don't even know.
Yeah, grow.
Wine.
Yeah, he just grows it. Well, it comes in a bottle on a vine.
Yeah. I mean, everyone's going to have their opinion on this. I think that the taxing is a good thing because there is an infrastructure required to oversee this sort of thing. It's not like it just has no cost attached to it. So that is good in that respect. But I think it needs to be treated like liquor. Yes, you cannot be smoking up and driving, or there will be like stiff penalties for that.
I think that I'm fine with legalization because I think that there are pros. I think the pros are if it's legalized, the price will come down. I think that's just a given. It will happen if it becomes legalized. Cigarette smoking, it's not as harmful as cigarettes. I mean, there are a lot more chemicals added to cigarettes. So personally, I think if somebody was going to choose to smoke between cigarette or pot, they should go pot.
And Drew, what's your verdict?
Well, I mean, I would say I don't smoke pot, so I honestly don't care. It's the same for me. For example, if people are all up in arms about gay marriage, doesn't affect me. If somebody wants to get married and they're gay, have at it. If somebody wants to smoke pot and they want to be able to do this legally, have at it. It's your decision.
One of the things that I really think that is a benefit to this is it would cut down on a lot of the time and costs that the police put out there in trying to manage grow ops and all that sort of thing.
That's true.
If that wasn't necessary, they could be concentrating on the harder drugs and the more serious crimes.
And you know what? If they're making money on this, possibly that could reduce taxing in other areas of people's lives.
Well, I think that either way, there's going to be people disappointed on both sides of the card. But this debate will continue for many years. I'm sure.
Let's be honest. The potheads are really not going to probably fight a lot because they're just not going to get off the couch.
Are we jamming? I'm jamming.
We'll wrap up the show with dating at the office. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Back after this, you're listening to Off Topic with the Scott Brothers on the Corus Radio Network.
Now, back to Off Topic with the Scott Brothers on the Corus Radio Network.
Back with our last segment on this edition of Off Topic with the Scott Brothers. So we thought we'd spice it up a little bit. Let's talk about office relationships. JD, do you think that dating a coworker is a good or a bad idea?
All right. I have preached this to people many times that it's a bad idea, but I have also done it many times.
So you're a hypocrite.
I'm a complete hypocrite.
What drew you to it?
Well, it's easy to say don't do it, but if you start working with somebody that you really hit it off with and you feel that connection with them, it's hard not to pursue something. I mean, you become friends, you spend more time with your coworkers than you do with your own family in a lot of situations.
Well, that's exactly it. I mean, some people say no, off limits when you're at work, but you sleep, 8 hours of the day, you're at work 8 hours of the day, and then you're doing miscellaneous other things, and then you see your family for a few hours for the rest of the time. So you literally spend a third of your life at work with these people. So how can you not start to develop some sort of relationships and maybe even attraction?
That's why they say most affairs happen at the workplace, because you do spend a lot of time there. I mean, I think those numbers are a little skewed. You should be spending more than just a couple hours with your family if that's the case. However, there's a lot of debate back and forth. Some people think that it's an office fling can kind of spice up your life a little bit, and because you do spend most of the time together, that maybe that would be something romantic. But what happens if then all of a sudden that gets broken off?
Which
awkward.
It does happen, and I have been in that situation too. Or this was a person you really cared about, and things are fantastic while you're seeing each other, but suddenly you have that completely awkward situation where you're avoiding each other. Your coworkers don't know who they're supposed to be friends with or who they're supposed to talk to.
Yeah, I don't like that, and especially if something happens and you split and you're still trying to work together, and then people are taking sides at the office of who they want to talk to. It just gets extremely messy. So I think it's a matter of using tact, and it's your personality too. Like, I mean, we're all pretty nice, friendly guys. If we split up, if something wasn't exactly amicable,
are we dating?
Yeah, we're dating. No, but I don't think we're the types that are going to be the mean exes. No, I can still talk to the person. I have with ex-girlfriends still talk to them,
and that's exactly it. I feel, you have to be careful. Like if you're the type of person that you're going to have this wild, spontaneous physical relationship and then all of a sudden be cold turkey with that person around everyone else at the office, that can sort of play with emotions. That can be difficult. But I do think it's a great place to meet somebody that you will get to know them. You'll see if you have interests in common. They do say that 14% of people that get married met at the office, whereas only 11% of people who get married were introduced through friends.
So that person that you met at the office, is that your boss?
Well, that's a good question, actually. So instead of just inter-office relationships, what about sleeping with the boss?
Well, does that mean something like 20% of marriages start by sleeping with the boss? The other 80% ended in a lawsuit, sexual harassment.
Well, most of my bosses have always been older gentlemen, so it's never really come into play for me.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
No.
Well, what about role playing? Has anybody ever had the whole girlfriends that like to role play, and then you have a night where you do? I'm the boss. You're the intern.
But if your boss is an older gentleman, that would just sort of bring that up in your mind. I don't think that's a good idea.
Who's the boss now?
Not so good.
But it's the gossip ring at work is actually something that would frustrate me, and I have in the past. I've hung out with not serious dating, but I've hung out with girls that were at work. And everyone knows, as much as you both say, we're not going to tell anybody, let's keep this to ourselves, the next minute, everyone knows.
Yeah.
And it's not me talking.
You should have closed the blinds, that's why. I think it's dangerous. You're setting yourself up for a sexual harassment lawsuit if you are getting involved, especially in today's world, in today's society. Everyone is very, very cautious about that. I did a corporate training, where they were teaching management how to deal with, interoffice relationships and what happens and how to avoid sexual harassment or just harassment in general. And it blew my mind, some of the things that can constitute harassment. And one of them is simple as, if you were to invite a bunch of coworkers to go out, I'll take it back one step. If you were to invite a coworker out on a date, that can be harassment. Whereas I think, if you really think that you hit off with somebody and you're not being a creep about it and you ask them like an adult, that should not constitute harassment. On the flip side, if you invite a bunch of coworkers out for drinks, but you do not invite a coworker out, the person who you did not invite apparently also can sue you, because you're now basically you're neglecting them, or you're
that's just stupid.
Damned if you do, damned if you don't.
You are forced to take someone out.
Well, that's exactly what I said. I said I don't understand how now I have to be forced who I want to choose to be friends with.
This, I think, well, you just nailed it on the head right there. I think maybe your best bet is to become friends with these people first. Don't make it a dating thing. Just hang out as buddies. And then if something came of it, that's a whole different scenario.
Well, I think I was reading some stats here, and one thing that's quite funny, one of the tips is to consult HR at work. Excuse me, HR, can you tell me, I'm having feelings down yonder regarding this certain coworker.
It's true, though. I've had companies that I've worked with where you had to fill out a form if you were going to start dating a coworker.
That's taking the personal and putting it too far out there. Like, that's
as soon as you have to file a TPS report about your dating,
how's that report coming?
A little bit, yeah. But you're right. I mean, I think there's some passion on the surface, and everyone's always thought about what would it be like to clear the desk and take care of business there. But I think looking at the bigger picture, I think it is very dangerous ground to embark on. So I think that maybe especially with the boss, keep the relationships out of it.
Well, and with work, though, the one thing I just have never understood, how can work actually say to you, you are not allowed to see this person in your private life? That just seems wrong to me.
I don't know the law on it, but
I feel like you need to invest in a friendship first.
Yes.
I think that's the big thing. Learn who your friends are, build those interpersonal relationships that way. And then if something was to happen, hey, at that time you already know each other well, you trust each other, you could take it to management and say, hey, this is what's going on.
Well, just because we have several companies doesn't mean that you have several different pools of dating potentials.
Tell us what you think. Hit us up on social media. I'm at Mr. Silver Scott. We have at Mr. JD Scott and at Mr. Drew Scott, or at thescottbrothers.com. Thank you very much for joining us. And next week, we're talking about erotica versus porn, how sex changes as you get older. And we'll chat with Carmi Levy, a tech journalist and analyst, who's going to give us the skinny on the Apple versus Android debate. Thanks to all our guests, Mike Moser of Echelon Foods and nutritionist Mark Macdonald. We are going to be back next week with, again, Off Topic with the Scott Brothers on the Corus Radio Network.
You've been listening to Off Topic with the Scott Brothers on the Corus Radio Network. Want more of the Scotts? Check them out on TV. Catch the Property Brothers and Buying and Selling on W, a Corus Entertainment company.